let's talk about some of the content marketing that you're doing with the National Peanut Board and how you're using influencers to help get the word out that people do need to expose a little earlier.
Yeah, so specifically this past year, we worked on a campaign led by our agency, Golan. We work with their Atlanta and Chicago offices. And over the past couple of years, these new guidelines have been out since 2017, but we were realizing that a lot of parents hadn't gotten the message, or if they had, they still had some trepidation and fear about early introduction. And through this research, we also found that while we'd like to think that parents are relying primarily on the advice of their pediatricians and health experts, that's not always the case. With the popularity of social media and all the influence that a lot of folks have on those platforms, we really wanted to tap into those influencers to help get our message across. So we partnered with celebrity, Justin Baldoni from the TV show Jane the Virgin, and he and his wife just happened to have a new son who was right around that early introduction age of 6 months and was interested in partnering with us to help spread the message about early introduction to prevent peanut allergies. So we worked with him on a series of 3 videos to chronicle his family's process of going through this early introduction and really help connect to that target audience of millennials and new parents and caregivers to have them sort of go along for the ride and remove some of that fear. So we partnered with Justin as sort of our capstone celebrity, and then we also partnered with about 10 other micro-influencers who primarily had followings on social media platforms like YouTube or Instagram, who had kids right around the same age or whose followers would be in that target audience for us. So it proved to be a really effective campaign.
So some of this, I would think, has to be a little trial and error on the part of a marketing department to see, is this going to work? Is it going to translate into, a lot of views, a lot of people, actually saying, yeah, I learned something from it. How do you measure the success that you had from that? And, was it a success? Was it what you wanted? Was it what you set out to do?
Yeah, so I think benchmarking is really, and surveying and research is a really important component of a campaign. You can't, for every single campaign you want to do, especially for an organization like ours, who's on the smaller side, you can't do a full-blown research study or survey for every campaign. But particularly for this early introduction campaign, it's such an important priority for us, and we really wanted to ensure that we were achieving our measurable goals. We did do a pre-campaign exposure survey and a post-campaign exposure survey as well for those target demographics that we were looking at. So asking about new parents' willingness to introduce, if they had less fear, those type of questions before being exposed to the campaign and then after. So we found really significant results. I think upwards of 60% were willing to introduce after being exposed to our campaign. So we felt
wonderful.
Really proud of that accomplishment.
Right. And those stories, I would think, it's not only that you can just use it for one campaign, I would think you could go back to it again and again because the story's not going to change. I mean, it's still going to be timely, a year from now if you wanted to put it back out, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the challenge, too, is that well, I call them new, but they're from 2017. These guidelines came out, and especially when you're talking about wanting to get earned media coverage, we were learning from media folks that, we covered that story. We covered that news, that early intro guidance in 2017. So what's the new hook? What's new? What's interesting? Why should we cover it again? Even though there's new parents every day, and you're not necessarily paying attention to news that doesn't apply to you at a certain time.
That's true.
Yeah. So we're constantly every year trying to figure out how to make it compelling. So for 2019, we're actually working on a new iteration of an early introduction campaign, and we'll be doing a campaign that we're calling Size 4 to 6 months that really takes advantage of the correlation between infant clothing sizes and this early introduction window. So we'll be creating a line of peanut-themed clothing for babies, and then pairing that with a little early introduction kit. So it'll have educational materials about the proper timing and recommendations for early introduction, and how to go about doing that with thinned peanut butter or powdered peanut butter or peanut puffs. So we're going to have a big fashion show and just turn it into something that's fun and appealing to media and our target audience.